All right, you're watching Battle of Champions, a very important day at the T20 World Cup where Australia will be facing off against the undefeated Pakistan team. But before that semi-final, we'll give you some latest news from the Indian camp. Now, the Indian test team is likely to be announced within a day or two. But the big news that we're breaking here on India today at the moment is that Rohit Sharma is most likely to be rested for both those test matches versus New Zealand. In his absence, it's going to be Ajinkya Rahane that will lead India in the first test match. Remember, Virat Kohli is all set to return to the Indian test side in the second test match that will be played in Mumbai. So for the first test that is going to be played in Kanpur from the 25th of November, it's going to be Ajinkya Rahane that will be leading the side. We're also getting to hear plenty more senior players might be rested. Those that have been playing continuous cricket in Rishabh Pant, Jasprit Bumrah, Shardul Thakur, Mohammad Shami. Okay, Rahul Rawat, my colleague, joins us for more on this. Rahul, was there a fair bit of discussion, deliberation when it came to the captain? Because we were hearing that it is possible that Rohit Sharma could have been captain. Now they've gone with Ajinkya Rahane. Was there some sort of a debate over this?
Well, Nikhil, there was a line of thinking that wanted Rohit Sharma to be elevated to vice captaincy in Test cricket. Of course, he is now the T20 captain. So there was a line of thinking, but Rohit Sharma has chosen to skip this two Test match series against New Zealand, which meant that Ajinkya Rahane, in the absence of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma both, will captain and lead the Indian team in the first Test match in Kanpur. Thereafter, Virat Kohli returns for the second test match. And also, the line of thinking, it has not been ruled out as far as Rohit's elevation is concerned. There is a possibility when India next tours to South Africa, Rohit Sharma would be Virat's deputy in Test cricket. So, as of now, Rohit Sharma, as you mentioned, has been rested for the two test matches, and Virat will also be out of the first test match because he is also chosen to take some rest because of the workload management, and Ajinkya Rahane will lead in the first test match, and Virat comes back for the Mumbai test, the second one.
Okay, for the moment this conundrum sorts itself out because Rohit Sharma is going to be rested for both test matches. So that debate whether it's Ajinkya Rahane, Rohit Sharma has sorted itself out. But other players as well, you were talking about, workload management. Just very briefly, could other players also be looked at when you're looking at these two test matches as far as resting them is concerned?
Well, absolutely. We've seen in the test, in the T20, for the T20 series, a lot of senior players have been rested. A lot of senior players will again be rested for the test series. In fact, the squad should be out soon. The selection committee met a few hours ago, and we are expecting that the entire test squad for the two test matches that India is scheduled to play against New Zealand should be out. As you've already mentioned a few names, these are the names that are going to be rested alongside Rohit Sharma and Ajinkya Rahane, of course, as you mentioned again, will lead the test team in the first test.
All right, Rahul Rawat, thanks so much for those upside. You have the undefeated Pakistan team in the tournament so far. In fact, their run in the UAE has been outstanding. 16 unbeaten game for them. But Australia, many would say, are peaking at the right time. And as we know, when it comes to ICC knockouts, seldom do you see any other team perform better than the Australian side. Can this Australian side under Aaron Finch do one better than the Pakistan team under Babar Azam? That's what will be our focus in the next few minutes. Joining us on the program, cricket analyst in Sunil Gavaskar. Sunil, one very interesting stat when I'm looking at these two teams, Australia have never lost to Pakistan when it comes to an ICC knockout game. Can Pakistan, considering the form that they are in, change that particular stat?
Why not? Pakistan had never lost to India in a World Cup, but they changed that, didn't they?
Yep.
And the way they're playing, the way they're combining, the way they're showing such a calm approach towards the game, not a frenzied approach which has got them into trouble in the past. Yes, they can do it. Why not? They have a very good balanced team. They've got a top-class new ball attack. The spinners have been very good. They're batting. They've got depth in the batting with Shoaib Malik at 6 coming and hitting, a fastest half century. What more do you want?
All right, there is an argument in favor of Australia, Sanivai, saying that they are peaking at the right time, whereas, Pakistan may have peaked early. How much merit do you think are in these arguments? Does momentum, peaking make really a lot of difference in these knockout encounters?
These are lovely arguments to talk about, discuss, peaking and all that kind of thing. At the end of the day, it's a match.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. If Australia lose, you're going to say, oh, well, they didn't peak in time. If Pakistan lose, you're going to say, see, we told you that, they have already peaked. So these are the kind of things that happen. But in the T20 format, you can't predict anything, because in a T20 format, like we saw the other day, yesterday, that 17th over, which went for 23 runs, changed the complexion of the game completely. The next over went for 14 and the 19th went for 20. So a couple of overs can completely change, completely overturn the game. So whoever does that today, whoever takes their catches today, whoever keeps a cool head will win. Never mind whether they are peaked or not.
All right, Saibhai, what a coincidence that you talk about that one over that happened yesterday where 23 runs were given, because that is the reference I was going to make, because the last time these two teams played in a knockout in a T20 World Cup, it was Michael Hussey that took 23 odd runs of Saeed Ajmal's over, that final over, and that's how Australia triumphed in that particular encounter. It was a very, very close encounter before that, and many thought that Pakistan would end up on the winning side, but that wasn't to be. Michael Hussey playing one of the finest T20 innings. But what are the equations now? How are the two teams shaping up for this crucial encounter? Let's take a look.
Pakistan, the team that has looked invincible so far in the T20 World Cup.
Babar Azam.
Today they face a stern test from the men from down under.
And that's what we know stock. A lot of his stumps there.
Babar Azam and co have been the form side at the T20 World Cup. With 5 wins in 5 group games, the men in green are the only team yet to lose a single match this tournament. In fact, such has been their dominance that Pakistan's campaign has so far resembled the champion Australian teams of the past.
Wonderfully bowled!
From an exceptional bowling group to some scintillating batting performances, time and again, the Pakistanis have found a hero just when they needed one. Pakistan was sweating over the fitness of 2 of their key players, Mohammad Rizwan and Shoaib Malik, who missed the team's training session on the eve of the match due to a mild flu. However, since both players have since then cleared the fitness tests, they're expected to make the lineup tonight.
Pakistan's point of view, they've got a...
Australia, though, haven't quite enjoyed the limelight they get at ICC tournaments. Not many gave Aaron Finch's men a chance of qualifying for the semis from the group of death. Yet they've reached the last 4 on the basis of their performances.
What do we know?
The only defeat the Aussies suffered was at the hands of England. The men in gold and green can find inspiration from their neighbours across the Tasman Sea, New Zealand, who showed in the first semi-final that being the underdogs can sometimes work in your favour.
And the sheer delight from...
The last time Australia and Pakistan faced each other, in the last 4 of the T20 World Cup, it turned out to be a humdinger. It was Michael Hussey's sensational last-over blitz that floored the Pakistanis as he snatched victory from right under their noses. And all neutrals will be hoping for another cracker of a game when these two sides face off in Dubai. The Aussies have never lost to Pakistan at an ICC tournament. On the other hand, Babar Azam and co have won their last 16 T20 internationals in the UAE. One of these streaks will come to an end tonight. The fact that only once the team batting first in Dubai has gone on to clinch the match this tournament highlights how crucial the toss will be. And expect the captain winning the coin flip to bowl first. Sports Bureau, India Today.
Performance by the Australian.
Right, Sunil Gavaskar still with us. One thing that we've seen with this particular Pakistan team, and the reason for their success has been how good their openers have been in terms of piling runs. But the other interesting stat I was looking at is the fact that their run rate in the power play is one of the lowest at 5.8. Now they're trying to beat that conventional logic now that people say you have to go hell for leather at the start. Pakistan is going back to that age-old logic that no, play with a bit of consolidation, keep wickets in hand. You reckon because this is a knockout game, they would be tempted to change that, or you think because this has been working, they should continue with this?
I think because it's been working, they'll look to do that. Obviously, if they get the opportunities to up the scoring rate, they'll do that. But I think what they found in this tournament is in Asif Ali and then Shoaib Malik at number 5, 6 or 6, 7, they found 2 finishers who can make up for a solid start in the first 6 overs in the power play. if they're scoring about 6, as you said, 5.8, 6 runs and over, they can make up. These two batsmen make up. And I think that is what has been one of the reasons why they've, even if they found themselves in a tough situation like against Afghanistan, they managed to get through only because of the power hitting, the finishing power of Asif Ali and Shoaib Malik.
Right, Sahiba, you've hit the nail on the head without the benefit of having stats in front of you, because the stats suggest exactly that. Because they may be slow to begin with, it's their end, it's the death over where Pakistan have the highest run rate at 13.2. And as you mentioned about Shoaib Malik, Hafiz coming to the party in a game or two, and then Asif Ali also doing it for them. I'm just looking at from Australia's perspective, they would be looking for those early wickets, because that's when you can really put pressure, and we'll get to see whether the Pakistani middle order then can bat, gradually and then accelerate towards the end. Hazelwood, you reckon, is the guy? I'm just looking at the role that Australia have assigned to him. 62% of his overs, he bowls in the power play. So he'd be that weapon that they look to get those early breakthroughs?
Yes, because he hits that hard leg around the off stump of most of the batsmen, which is very tough to get away, either on the offside or on the onside. So clearly, I think he is going to be the one that will look to get the wickets. But don't rule out Mitchell Starc. He's not quite got the one that comes into the right-hander. He's lost it over the last couple of years because his wrist position is, getting the ball away, not getting the ball in. But occasionally the new ball, as you know, can swing in. And if that happens, then he becomes even more dangerous.
All right, Saima, we'll leave it at that. What a mouth-watering contest that we have on our hands. Pakistan taking on Australia. As we mentioned, that Australia have never lost in an ICC knockout game to Pakistan. But if you look at the form, then you'd have to go say that Pakistan go into this particular encounter as the favourites. Saima, thanks so much for joining us. But before we wrap up our show, we'll listen in to Matthew Hayden, because he finds himself in an internal battle of heart versus head. Because remember, he's played all his cricket for Australia, now is on the Pakistani camp. What did he have to say before this game? Listen to him, and that's all that we have at the moment.
It is a very unusual feeling. As you all know, I was a warrior for Australian cricket over 2 decades. And so that does give me the benefit of having wonderful insights, not only into these players, but also into the culture of cricket in Australia. I think the roles of roaming mentors, coaches across the global platform has been a significant area where other nations can benefit, including our own, can benefit off increasing and improving or adding value to the standards of cricket.